Hello and welcome back to the Remembering Tuscola webcast. I'm David Porter. I'm here with Mike Carroll and Bill Englehardt, who are, I don't know what they're doing, but
I think Bill looks really nice today.
Well, I thought I like your top.
Yeah, well, I like your hat. You smell good today.
God.
What do you have on? Musk Elano?
I did share. I did get
Do you
cleaned up.
have Elon Musk on?
No.
Oh my.
Oh,
Ooh,
my.
it's kind of a musky odor.
Remember Burris's Old Spice?
Oh yeah.
Gee, my knee.
Oh yeah. I think he poured a gallon a day on his head.
He get right on you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Smell that Old Spice.
Okay, David, did you introduce us?
I don't remember.
Oh, we took
Yeah,
off.
he did.
We took off.
He did. We were.
Yeah, we're here. And there's David with a new shirt.
Yeah.
It's called the County Chronicle.
That's nice, David. Good for you.
It's nice. So the corporation busted for some clothes.
Amy Klimico had this made for me.
Well, it looked like a surgeon. It looked like an emergency room frock.
Just a t-shirt.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
isn't that sweet?
Looks nice.
You look nice today, David.
Yeah.
You smell good too. They have a cigar odor to you.
Yeah.
Gloria Cubana kind of smell. What are you smoking today?
This is how do you say in Spanish? Medea Noche?
Oh, Medea Noche. You said it right. Medea Noche. Nightshade. Kind of a poison plant. Grows in Ecuador.
I think it translates to midnight, doesn't it?
Well, who knows? A lot of languages down there.
Hmm. I believe it's a Romeo, or I guess you could say a Romeo. A Romeo Julieta. I can't roll my tongue.
Yeah.
So
Well, Bill and I can, but we're not going to.
Yeah, not today.
I rolled it so much last night, it's cramping.
Yeah.
So you got some good shots. Anything going on before we look at the pictures? Anything major?
well, there was a plane wreck out in DC.
Great tragedy.
You already know it was caused by a mentally ill person, as I understand.
Pretty much.
That's too bad.
I haven't seen that.
Figure skating team.
I used to fly into Washington. We used to fly into the old it's called Dulles. There was one right out in the Potomac. And then they built one way out by Reston where we started flying into. But that was always scary to fly into the one on the Potomac. It was pretty tight, pretty crowded, pretty small runway.
I flew in on a C-130 one time.
That's a big plane.
Come back from home.
I was on a junket, political junket with the National Guard.
So your cousin got you on it?
Yeah, that's when I had my picture taken with Obama.
Hey, Enya was on TV the other night.
There's one station that uses him all the time.
How come he's not Secretary of Defense?
Because he's qualified.
Oh, I see. Well, that answered that.
He was on and talked, and I forget the specific question that they asked him, but yeah, he was.
What station were you watching?
You know what? It was at that News Nation.
News Nation. That's one that's one he's on all the time.
The neutral. They actually tell the news.
Hey, David, you can start going to presidential press briefings now. He's allowing podcasters in there.
Oh, is he?
He doesn't like the legacy news, so he's allowing the real news podcasters and
Well,
You and Joe Rogan.
give him a time. Give him. Let
Bill
me
and I-
go once or twice. He won't like me either.
well, Bill and I can go if you can't make it.
Yeah.
Well, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
If you,
Don't count on me going.
I probably won't go either.
Nah.
But anyway, he is allowing podcasters, so I think you got a chance.
Yeah, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was a TV actor on news radio years ago. Played
He
the
was a
maintenance man.
TV actor on radio.
That's
The
unusual.
name of the show was called News Radio,
Oh, I remember that.
Oh.
Yeah,
and he played the maintenance man.
I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
he couldn't even spell his name then.
Well, I mean, he was acting, so
Oh,
It was,
I see. He was acting
maybe he's a.
natural.
But he
I heard
kind of. I think he. I don't know. My take is he went the podcast route because he wasn't getting any TV work.
I read about these influencers, that are on TikTok. I can't believe how many are out there, but I was reading the story. Wall Street Journal interviewed a bunch of them. One gal was crying because they're going to get rid of TikTok. She said she has 44 million followers and makes about 2 million a year. And she just talks. She just walks around her house and talks about her house and cooks breakfast and gives a recipe and gossips. How do you get 44 million followers doing that?
Well, you paid some of them, and then I don't know. There's ways to do it.
I thought once you got the following by doing crazy stuff, that's when people came in and did ads through you.
There's so much fakery in this world. I've looking into how do you promote if you self-publish your book, and you've self-published a book. How do you promote it? Well, there's places where you can buy reviews.
Yeah.
Well, that's cheating,
Yeah.
but it's sort of like you get the ball rolling, and once you get a few reviews, other people buy it, and then they give you reviews, and pretty soon you start building these reviews. But to get it started, and there's a lot of places in this across different platforms where that's the case, where they get started by actually paying somebody. I've heard of people, paying people for likes on Facebook to build up their Facebook page. So then someone says, "Oh, this person's got 10,000 followers. I should follow that. That must be a pretty good thing." Pretty soon they got 1 million followers. Oh, I should follow that. They got 1 million followers because we're all just sheep, and we don't want to check out something. You find someone that's got 3 followers. Oh, that's not worth anything. Nobody likes that.
Bill and I had a question. What's Facebook?
40, I bet we have 44 followers at least.
Oh yeah.
I told you I talked to a young woman from Texas this week who was up here with her parents, visiting her parents, and she watches the podcast. I don't know how many states we touch now, David. You used to remember when we used to do our other show, we had an idea how many people from different states.
We have 51 subscribers to our YouTube channel, but the last webcast we had 467 views. So a lot of people view it that don't subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, I think it'll come up, when we have a new one, there may be a notification. Well, that was October 10th that had 467 views. Let's see, the January 23rd had 150 views.
So here's the email. Here's what they do on email, for example. Oh, you're still getting data?
What's that?
Yeah.
Here's the thing they do on email now. Here's the thing, Bill, is from Carol Pierce, one of my classmates. We have a classmate scrum. We just had a classmate die, Marie Holland. Carol Pierce, sad announcement from Carol. So you want to open it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it says, Carol Pierce wrote, just keep me updated. I guess I probably should afford this a bit sooner. So you hit it. And Bing, powerful tinnitus relief.
Ringing in the ears.
So they go through, they glob onto somebody else's email
Mhm.
because I know you open it because it's from a classmate about something serious. You open it up and it's about powerful tinnitus relief. Vanatera GDB gummies, and that's the biggest deal in Shark Tank history. And you go, what universe am I on?
It makes you wonder, does any of that advertising actually work?
Well, I opened it up, and I think the way they pay people is every time you open something up, you get a hit, you get $1 or 10 cents or something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is
Anyway, it's well known that Bill and
clickbait.
Bill and I is well known. Bill and I eschew the modern world. Now, the modern world, get away from us.
You're Luddites.
We're pre-Luddites, actually.
We're doing fine.
We're doing fine. We're surviving and having a good time. And we're not influencers. We don't want to be influencers.
Well,
Right?
you influence people.
Well, when I was a judge, I did.
Well, you sentence people there. But
Well, that influenced their behavior.
That'll influence
The
you.
theory was it influenced their behavior. Well,
we influence people on instead of influencing people on what they should do, we influence them on what they shouldn't do.
well, that's probably true.
We're disinfluencers.
How's your anti-smoking campaign coming?
I think it's working. People look at me and say, "Well, it must be the cigar. Stay away from cigars."
Yeah. Okay, you ready, Bill?
I'm ready.
We're ready.
You ready?
Yeah, we're charged up. This is back in the 50s and 60s. That's when we were walking the earth.
Let's see what we got here.
I don't know. It's toughy. Oh boy. I think
Well, we just
that's the TV commercials for
How about anti-smoking campaign?
yeah, that's for Lucky Strikes, LSMFT.
Isn't this from Hugo or
No.
Newman? Place these guys.
Well, I don't know where
We
they're
had
from.
this guy in the middle last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of these pictures, they're from the same envelope.
But this younger guy looked kind of familiar.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
names.
surprised- I don't have any names. I'm surprised no one has commented because
Huh.
this is in the old Moose above the journal.
Yeah. They look like Moose officials. They're doing their annual Moose cigarette ritual.
You can see the Moose thing, the Loyal Order of the Moose,
Right.
right
Yeah.
there.
That's Myron Moose right there on the right.
And I remember this chair railing because I used to live in this room.
Yeah.
I had an apartment up there at one time.
What'd you do? Just roam around Tuscola and sleep various places?
Well, any place that let me sleep for free.
Yeah.
It's I was very frugal like that. I stayed at the Irvin House for 3 years, and they
Yeah.
paid me $2 a night to sleep there.
Wow.
They paid the utilities, they mowed the grass, I didn't have to clean the place. All I had to do was sleep there, and they paid me $2 a night.
You lived on $60 a month?
No, I worked at the newspaper full time, but that was $60 a month on top of my newspaper salary.
Oh man, you were in the
Plus,
You were-
I was processing film for Jim Higgins. I was doing team photography during the summertime and selling photos. I was DJing on Saturday nights at Rockin' Rodney's part of the time. Um,
Well, you were walking in tall cotton.
I
Yeah.
had 4 or 5 jobs at one time and paid no rent and no utilities. You got to
Oh,
figure these things out. And
That's how
then
you got your millions.
you were socking it away.
But then when the Irvin House was going to sell, I asked Bob, I said, hey, you got, nobody's using the upstairs of the Journal building. You mind if I put an apartment up in there? He says, no, go ahead.
How
I
about a
mean,
bath?
he was heating it anyway.
How about a bathroom and a kitchen, or you not need those?
It had a bathroom,
Okay. I
and
clean.
That would,
I was worried
I
about
didn't
that.
well,
I didn't stay up there very long because then I got the job in Springfield and moved. Had to start paying my own way.
Well, you'd saved up thousands.
$2 a night,
Wow. Well, with the inflation, that's what, $200 a night today?
probably.
I don't know, but it was great. I mean, I was 19 years old. I was making $200 a week at the newspaper,
Oh, you were doing great.
and I was making $60 a month at the Irvin House, and then I'd pick up another probably another $5,000 on my other jobs for the year.
Did you get tips as a DJ, or did Ronnie Earl just pay
You
you?
know, I got a tip. I almost got a tip one time. A guy came up and he said he wanted to he wanted to hear Freebird, and I said, "Well, Freebird's a really long song, and I don't know that we want to sit through a song that long." He says, "I'll give you $1 if you'll play Freebird." So he gives me $1, and so I played Freebird, and then about three-quarters of the way through the song, the CD started skipping. So I took it off and I put on a different song, and he came back over and wanted his $1
Now
back.
we're back.
Yeah. Well, Freebird it's a pretty good guitar riff song, but it's not a good dance song.
No.
You
No, it's not.
just
good.
vibrate. You just
No,
vibrate.
that's,
You're stand in place and
Yeah.
vibrate.
So I gave him his $1 back. It was either that or fight him.
Well,
And
today that'd be tax free.
you could drive from Tuscola to Arcola, listen to the Freebird
Yeah.
back probably.
and back.
Today that tax is tip free, or that tip is tax free, or that tax.
Has that gone into effect?
Well, he said it. It's supposed to be Congress that passed those laws, but he said it's the law. I guess they better back him up and pass it. He also said Social Security tax would be tax free, so I'm waiting for that one.
My first wife was a waitress, and I think you had to report 8% of your sales as tips.
Mhm.
And typically you would make 15 to 20% of your sales in tips, but you only had to claim 8%.
Yeah.
Mm.
But if you were a bad waitress or waiter and you didn't make 8%, you still had to pay taxes on 8%.
Wow. 8% of your earnings. Wow.
8% of your food sales.
Oh, just the food sales.
Yeah, 8% of your food sales. So if you sold $100 in food, you had to pay tax on 8% of that because they assumed you would get a tip that was, at least 8%.
You remember what the going,
they ran when they saw you coming, didn't they?
you remember what the going rate was back in the old days?
10%.
10%.
Yeah. What is it now? 11?
God, 11? Are you kidding? Man,
I think 20% is the minimum now.
15, but 20 if they're decent,
I do the math in my head.
I do it in my pocketbook. Okay, let's go to another picture here.
Oh, you want another picture since we don't
These
know?
guys are driving me nuts.
Why don't we talk about 40 minutes on every picture?
Okay, there we go.
That's Guy Barnes.
Guy Barnes, second from the left.
This is the same room.
Yeah. Who's the guy on the left? We should know the guy next to Guy.
Well, we should, and we've had that, and I don't know. I forget.
Okay, we got one.
It's been 1 week ago.
Is that a fishing pole over there on the right?
Well, kind of. It's a whip master, they call it.
Yeah.
That's how they discipline the new moosets.
Mm-hmm.
That's all those guys lit their cigarettes at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the decomp at USI. Probably.
Yeah.
They blew they blew a stack. Remember those decomps go off and rattle
Oh,
your windows
boy.
in town?
They'd rattle your windows. They'd lift the school desk off the
Yeah.
floor at Northward.
Okay.
Who are these boys working?
Maintenance guys at USI. We should
Yeah.
know those guys.
Those are the old type hard hats they used to wear.
David, you got names on this?
No, is that a roller he's holding like he's painting the fence?
Oh, yeah. That's a hard fence to paint.
Mm-hmm.
This guy on this side brushes it and then he rolls the paint on.
I wonder what the brush was for if he's.
Well, you want the
Clean
paint,
it off.
clean it off before you put the paint on.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
That's a machine shop behind
You
there.
clean it off on one side and roll the other?
Yeah, that's the theory.
Yeah.
It's kind of been disproved now. Oh boy. This is where is this at?
This was a little out of
Trial.
focus.
No, it's outside.
Is it outside? Is it
Looks outside to me.
park?
Is this isn't the amphitheater, is it?
No, they had
No,
concrete
they
benches.
had concrete benches,
Yeah.
but I'm
Maybe-
grabbing at straws.
Did they always have concrete benches or they have those first way back?
This is not that way back because of the clothing styles.
Well, looks like late
Gosh, you
40s.
had popcorn?
This is 1957.
Oh, well.
That's what I thought.
So you recognize the popcorn bags? Maybe that would be a clue.
That's not Gus's, I don't think. It's got a
No, it's got a bottom in it.
looks like
I know.
the-
Looks like he may be losing it out here, out the bottom of
Well,
this.
that
Oh,
could
that's-
be Gus's.
that's an old trick.
Looks like
he's
he's
leaking,
No name?
popcorn.
he's leaking
Oh.
popcorn.
No names on this one. A little out of focus.
They set something up in the park.
We've had this picture. That's
Mary Roy Toomey.
Mayor Toomey, the bald-headed fellow.
Jack.
Do we have this one or a similar one? We've got a lot of them that are similar. There's just different.
That's Jack Wellens. Fat Jack.
No,
Oh, that's Ed Nelson. Is that Nelson? Kenny Nelson?
I don't think it's Kenny.
Is that Phil White walking into his news office down there? Or is that Matthews?
Too thin.
That
Lauren
Matthews?
Matthews
Yeah, that's Lauren.
and Roy Toomey on the right. And that's
Could
all
be.
the names I got on that.
That's not Mr. Marler behind there.
No.
So this is putting in a new curb back here where it says National Bank is the vault, and all the buildings from that point forward are no
Are gone.
longer there. That's changed a lot. And of course, this building across the street from the bank no longer has the second floor. So this scene has changed a lot since 1957.
Yeah. Fire will do a lot of stuff for you. That's Rocky.
Rocky Raccoon.
You know, this was in with those negatives, and I thought, well, maybe this will spark a memory for somebody, but apparently it hasn't.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think he was probably in a building
They
upstairs.
trapped him.
Mm-hmm.
He was my roommate.
Right. Oh boy. Now we got some stuff here.
Well, that's Bill Burris on the far left.
Bill Burris on the far left. Is that,
That's
Dietrich? Bill Dietrich. Curtis Marsh, the center on the basketball team.
Uh-huh.
Down low,
That looks like John Lewis.
I don't know, but that looks like Tommy Atwell on the right. Is that Phil Flanagan?
Probably. But
How about-
that's not, so that couldn't be
That's not.
Lewis. He's too
no,
old. He's too
that's,
young. The coach is Kenny Roll.
Shirley Quinn says that Chad Marsh.
Chad.
Yeah, Rick's older brother played
Yeah.
center on that 53 team, 54.
And the other one you didn't name was Steve Bass.
On the far upper right is Steve Bass, right?
And then front row, she says Ken Roll, John Ware, Phil Flanagan,
Funny Ware. I thought there was a Ware in there.
and Tom Atwell.
Tommy Atwell.
So I got the coach right.
Who did she say? John Ware and who? Phil Flanagan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we got Flanagan, Atwell, Marsh, Bill Dietrich, and Burris. Yeah, that was Bill's 53 team. This is probably them meeting a few years later in 57 with their old coach. There were three really good Ware players, John, Dick, and who was the third one? Who was this one?
John, Dick, and Bill.
Bill Ware. Bill Ware. Well, we've had them before too.
Yeah, we had them.
Wallpaper.
We had them last week, but this is a different picture. And so I thought I'd give you another chance.
Oh, yeah. Well, now that I think about it,
got the radio behind him.
Well, and that's why the picture we had last week, they were on the couch, and the couch and the wallpaper all kind of blended. This gives you a little better idea of the furniture and just the scenery. Yeah, I like pictures like this that kind of show you how people lived and what their home
lilies
was
on
like.
the wallpaper. Yes, that's very typical of that generation. The paper's full. He's reading the paper in the evening. She's rocking away, reading the magazine.
Got a magazine, and I don't know what paper this is, but it's got a
plant
cartoon on the back, and probably what, Philco maybe.
you don't see many doilies nowadays, do you?
No,
The
I
girls
got-
doilies.
I don't think so.
We still use doilies at our house, but we're old school.
Yeah. Well, that's the Hayes brothers down in Kemp.
Now we had a picture of the building before, and somebody else in front of it. So
Yeah,
Who's that gal in the middle? She looks familiar.
I can't tell you. That'd be interesting to know who the lady on the right is, far right.
well, the one in the middle looks a little like my mom.
Well, that's what I was going to say, but I didn't want to.
Do you have names on this?
No,
If Dave can't identify his mom, how can we?
well, I don't know that it is, but
It does look like her.
it does look like her, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, does.
Maybe. Well, the hair and the glasses. She had glasses like that. I don't.
She's got 10 fingers like your mom.
I don't think the smile is the same. And although this woman on the left looks a little like one of her sisters, I'll have to show this picture to her and see if she can identify it. No one else has commented, but the woman on the right is definitely not my grandmother.
Man wearing? No.
Mr. York,
Oh, Ed York.
not
Norman.
Ed.
Norman.
Norman York.
Was that Ed's brother?
No, I don't believe so. This is up by the post office, I think.
Yeah.
We had a different mailman last week. In last week's
We had
picture.
Harley Phillips.
Harley Phillips last week.
They used to have that hedge right along there, I remember.
Uh-huh.
We'd hide in it and jump out, grab the girls
Yeah,
on their way to drop their books. back
books
off.
in a,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's where the old VFW is, or still is. That's the donut shop to the left.
American Legion now.
American
Is it?
Legion?
American
It was
Legion.
American Legion.
American Legion.
Yeah, it still is the American Legion.
Here went on those guys on the roof. We'll see if I identify those guys. That Mr. Hardwick on the right. Is it?
No, he wouldn't be up there.
Is that Shorty or Moran?
You know what?
Shorty
That's
Moran? Shorty Moran.
is that Dick Lake in the middle? And
Well, the shirt.
Adams worked for him. Gordon worked for him. That kid on the right kind of.
Well, looks like his shirt he always wore.
Yeah.
He
Gordon.
always wore a white t-shirt with the sleeves rolled up.
Yeah. Hmm.
I have to send it to Eric and see if he knows. If he thinks that looks like Gordo.
Mhm.
But this kind of tells you when the American Legion Hall was built.
Yeah.
In the 50s.
And of course, the building next to it's gone.
What was the donut shop originally? What was that building? Do we know?
Before the donut shop.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, 2-story, big building, old building.
Yeah.
Had to
Yeah.
look on one of the insurance maps.
See all these stars up here, turnbuckles. They got 3 turnbuckles up there. They got turnbuckles down here. All that brick's being held together. See those steel anchors, plates?
Mhm.
They put a rod all the way through there. They put those things to hold the brick together. Hell, it still collapsed,
Still collapsed.
even with turnbuckles everywhere.
Well, it's out in front of the Journal office.
He looks familiar.
Yeah.
Back when they had tie clips. Remember tie clips? I still have a bunch of tie clips I can't throw away.
Do you? I don't think I have any anymore.
They had tie studs and then they had the clip.
You gave me most of my ties.
I gave you, when you became principal, I gave you probably 20 or 30 ties.
Yeah, well, I appreciated it.
Yeah, it made you look halfway like you should be a principal.
Somebody posted on Facebook the other day. I can show that to you later if you want. Picture of me in Springfield when I was 18 years old, and I'm wearing a tie, and I still have that tie. So,
Well, you haven't outgrown it.
well, you don't outgrow a tie.
Oh, I'll be darned. Never thought of that.
Yeah,
That was the joke.
that was
That was the joke.
that was a joke. Well, we should know, but we don't.
The gal on the right looks like Mary Frances
The
Hackelman.
girl in the middle.
Remember Mary Frances Hackelman on the grocery store?
KFC.
KFC. Anybody know him?
It's about a 1958, 57 Oldsmobile off to the right.
Probably a 57 since that's when these pictures
Yeah.
were taken.
Now it's a picture. See there?
Yeah, 56, 57. Chevy, 57 Chevy next to it.
Larry Phillips had a 57 Chevy black, ran in drags Terre Haute and won. No names on this?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Didn't have a lot of names this week.
You've stumped everyone.
Yeah, I have. I think we had the same group last week that were wearing name tags in the community building.
The very back on the right, second one in is looks like Becky Lucas, doesn't it? Becky.
It should be too young.
Oh, that's right. It can't be Becky. She graduated in 74. She was very mature for
Her age.
Who are these girls here?
This is that Republican convention.
Who's that right there?
I don't know.
Come on, we should know that one.
Well,
Blow that up right there.
this is the hat brigade. You got some fancy hats.
Boy.
I don't know, maybe Rainbow Girls or something. I don't know.
I'm trying to, that's the community building, isn't it? Because they've got the floor.
It is a community building.
Arches going up.
It's a community building. You just aged Becky by 50 years.
There's the same guys again.
Yeah.
Exact same guys we saw before.
Same guys, different picture, and I thought, well, maybe people like to see the different poses.
Yeah. Burris thought a lot of that coach, Kenny Roll.
Yeah.
I think because he started him, or maybe.
Bill played forward. Marsh was the big center, 6'3" center. They're all good. Bill always talked about Bill Dietrich. He really liked Bill.
I liked Bill Dietrich. I got to I forget the circumstances. We were at a party one night. Maybe it's because I was friends with Butch. I don't know. Well, she looks familiar.
Well,
What
you'd
restaurant is that?
recognize the wall decor,
Well, that's what I was thinking.
a restaurant, local restaurant.
Bruce's? No, it
I
would have been
I don't remember that
57.
design anywhere.
No.
Okay, courthouse.
I think it was
Stinger. Is it Stinger?
this was starting 1925 team. Guy on the right's the center.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, this is the Whiz Kids. I'd say it's Mr. Stinger on the right. I'm trying to think of the others. These are county officials from around the county.
I think I had this picture last week.
We did. We didn't
I
know.
think it was flipped.
Yeah, this is the
Uh,
courthouse.
So I flipped it the right way because guys wear stuff in their left hand pockets,
Yeah.
and they were opposite last week.
Everybody carried the pencils and pens and stuff.
Pocket protectors.
Yeah, this is after downtown fire on southwest central. I think. No, that's the old dime store. That's Chris Hill's building.
Oh, it
That's
is.
Five and Dime.
So this is
Telephone company.
telephone company.
Was demolished or burnt down.
They tore down the old one. Now they're refurbishing the west or the east side of the Five and Dime.
Woolworths, Five and Dimes.
Anderson's, Arns.
Arts.
Dumas, Don Dumas. Oh,
Let's figure out who that kid is.
yeah, that's what I want to figure out.
Zero in on the kid there.
Clayton Harris.
Could be. Clayton's parents had a florist shop down next to the bank. His mom and dad.
Well, that's next to the bank. There's one other you should recognize in there.
On the left with glasses, we should know him.
Mm-hmm. That's the one.
Give us initials, we'll get it.
W8.
Oh, Webhold.
That's where the real estate office was.
Yeah. The Webmeister.
Hey, if you back that picture up real quick, I'll ask Mike a question. See the cap on this guy?
Yeah, it looks like
Quentin.
Quentin Weber.
Uh-huh.
That was his hat. He wore that hat for years. Okay.
We had some more. We had some of these last week. These are all
School
different.
to play. We didn't
Same.
know it. I
Yeah.
don't think.
North Ward,
Yeah.
the old North Ward stage.
Oh, great picture. Great picture.
What's the debris out there?
I'm not sure.
Well, that's the thing. You got all this debris, plus you got this window bricked up. I don't remember there being a bricked up window there. And I've looked I looked around for other pictures of the school, and I didn't see any that had a bricked up window. And it took me a while to figure out whether this photo was flipped or not, because sometimes it's hard to tell. But this side over on the left had to have been the auditorium side, because the gym side, the windows were taller. It had another set of panes above the top windows.
Well, it was a symmetrical building.
Right, but the two end wings had different windows.
Mm-hmm. This is cafeteria.
Yeah, this would
Band.
be the cafeteria down below and
Mhm.
auditorium up above.
Band and
Yeah,
auditorium.
band and chorus.
Well, then that's not backwards then.
No, no, but I had to flip it to make it right.
Yeah.
It's got the old windows. So I wonder when they replace all these windows, they put in the dark tinted windows. I wonder if that's when they unbricked this window. I just don't ever remember that being bricked up like that.
Well, they got another one bricked up right down to the
Oh yeah,
right.
right here too. Two of them.
Yeah. I always thought it was perfectly symmetrical. I'll have to go. I've got old pictures of the, you may go get my old pictures of the school.
Well, I looked at old pictures and I looked at one that came from the other direction that showed the gym, and it definitely had taller windows on the upstairs. Which makes sense. You want more light in the gym and you don't want light in the auditorium.
That's just a lot of debris down there. I just can't figure out what
I can't either. Where it came from.
Yeah, someone says this preparation for them for the demolition. Well, no, this is 1957.
Yeah.
57.
And it looks like concrete blocks out front. So I don't
Yeah.
know what renovation they were doing.
Well, they were getting ready to do the annex.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
annex is
That
on
was
the
the
other
other
side of the
side. That was the
building.
other side. That was a brand new addition. That didn't require
Right.
tearing it
I
down.
know it's so I don't know where it came from. See that box gutter up there
Yeah.
on top? I've got the one off the gym.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
On the north side where they have all this build out between the annex and the old building, it was about 2.5, 3 foot wide. You could actually get in there, put your feet up on that and your hands, and you could shimmy all the way up to the roof.
Yeah, I used to do that when I was a
You
kid.
do that?
I went up about 10 feet and realized I'm going to die if I get much higher. And
That's about what I did too. Yeah, you could put your back on one wall and your feet on the other and
Mm-hmm.
climb right up.
monkey on up.
There was a guy who escaped from prison a couple of years ago like that.
Yeah.
Bill doesn't recognize anyone here because this is inside a church.
I was going to say it's inside a church.
Yeah. They're all looking at pictures from the past trying to find Bill.
But it looks like, is that a map? Like a county map or something?
Looks like it. They're getting ready to build a new church.
Getting ready to walk around and
Is this the old First Christian Church that
Well, it
moved
may
out?
not be a church. You got a plywood table here, hardwood floors. I thought maybe the hangers,
chairs in the back look
You know,
like
that could be the old North Ward looking at the new high school.
I thought maybe someone might recognize the
I would
chairs
recognize some of those
and the
teachers.
hangers.
That
and
Hallie
the
Hopkins.
whole looks like a basement room to me.
Well, basement of the library.
It could be the basement of the library.
Woman's Club.
Yeah, I think it's got a pool like that in it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It does.
That's where Women's Club used to meet.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll bet this is the women's club.
And those are women,
And those are women.
from what I can tell.
Surprised no one has commented on these. If this is North Ward, I think somebody would recognize.
Class of 57.
Well, Chubb Connor should know him. Chubb usually comments.
Yeah.
Well, there's the Moose again. There's Guy Barnes. We ought to be able to get some more of these guys in here. Zero in a little bit here. I know that guy there.
There's your fishing rods.
Well, they kept it handy. Man, I'm sorry. You having a name?
Well, they believe that's Judy Fuller Sikora.
Well, Judy Fuller, yeah, she went on to be some kind of event organizer, pretty famous, I think.
Was her mother the nurse
I don't know.
from the county nurse that
There was
came?
a Fuller. They had a little old lady come into the grade school. She had a set of teeth as big as a Volkswagen and a toothbrush 4 foot long, and she'd show you how to brush your teeth. And you know what? I've forgotten how she did it. I think she talked about going up and down like that.
Well, they're not sure. Judy Fuller says, I don't remember having taken it. And Sandy Fuller says, it does look like you, but I zoomed in and up close, it doesn't look as much like you. And I think your legs were skinnier. So jury's still out on the.
I think it looks like Fuller, but if her sister, if she doesn't know,
Well,
that's her era.
She thought it was, and then she wasn't sure.
Well, we're not sure.
Class of 57 had a dream.
I almost said that's Fred. That's Fred the barber on the left.
Doesn't look like Fred to me, but I didn't know him in
Got a
1950.
flat top, glasses. What year did he graduate? Was it 50? Was this his era, 57, 58, 59?
Well, Marianne was 62, 3,
63. Fred might have been 59, 60.
59, 60.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're out of it. He's got this little rake thing that's for getting the mail, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you hold the mail out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. There we go again.
Yeah. Let's go again. Okay.
Oh, now you got something.
Bob Rogers. Second
yeah, that's old Goose.
Goose Rogers, and that's Mr. Zane.
Zane.
Second left is that Harold, and that's on the right is Forrest Ziegler.
Harold Zane, and this is
Oscar.
Oscar, I believe.
Far right looks like Forrest Ziegler.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
And
definitely Bobby Rogers.
Goose, and that's all.
Yeah,
that is his son on the left. And I'm not sure about. I think that's Forrest Ziegler, but who else could that be?
I just don't know. He would be Oscar's class, probably.
Yeah, I think that's his class. Anyway, pan back. That's the great shot of the old Star Store.
Yeah,
that was Tuscola's Robeson's department store. 2 stories, everything in the world you wanted to buy there. So they parted it all up into different stores.
Must have.
And the second floor was pretty neat. Had a fire up there.
Yeah.
Tore it all down, kept the first floor.
There's that.
There she is.
Again. Okay, there's Thody on the left.
Al Thody.
Al Thody on the left.
Denny Shuey.
Denny Shuey. We should know that next guy.
We should.
It's not Jim Wright, is it?
We should know this kid too.
Yeah.
You got the names on this?
I got a few. Let me check my comments here. Dennis Shuey, third from left.
Right.
Is that Jimmy Wright next to Dennis?
Oh, Jimmy Wright. They were good friends.
Max Albritton says could be. Alan Thody, first left. Sarah Siders, I don't know if that's just tagging someone, or Alan Thody, first side left. possibly Dennis Kahn next to Alan Thody.
Possibly.
And
Far right.
Kathy Hanner says, I thought the boy on far right looked like Dennis Kahn, and to his left might be Garrett Graham.
No,
Gary
that's
Graham.
right. That could be Denny.
Far right could be Jimmy Donnelly.
I think far right's Jimmy Donnelly.
Carol
Yeah.
Schroeder says second from left could be Gary Graham.
Oh, you must have it backwards. That's why she's
Thought he never changed.
no.
I miss him. He lives in Southern Illinois now.
He's a prankster.
And Denny Sherry really never changed,
No,
did he?
no, he looks. You could.
The on the right looks like he's wearing his underwear.
Well,
Jimmy Donnelly.
yeah.
Well, could have been. Back then it was pretty informal.
Yeah.
This is this plat map that these girls or women were looking at earlier.
Yeah. And I think that same map is in my office. Maybe not this particular, exact same one, but a copy of it.
Well, what happened in 57 that was so big? I don't know. There wasn't any pipeline or anything.
I think it's there's a 4-H thing back there on the wall.
4-H
What's it
poster
say
on
on
the
the
Oh,
wall.
maybe it's how to read a map. Maybe it's how to read the coordinates.
Possibly.
But you got a blackboard here. So I think this is that same room, but could that still be the basement of the library? There's a register over here.
Yeah.
Could
be.
Is there a register in that room?
Oh.
Could have
No.
been. Could have been. Back
Could have
then.
been at one time. They may have gone to forced air at this.
Oh boy. You were in the basement a lot, weren't you? You're a basement dweller.
Well, I go there for the meetings,
Women's club.
but no, for the library meetings, they have the old
Oh, that's
yearbooks
right.
down there.
Yes, not all of them.
Not all of them, but there's many yearbooks
Yeah.
down there. Sometimes I'll go down and
Bill's on the library board, by the way.
refresh. Yeah.
Bill's on the library board.
Yeah.
You've banned most of the modern works, haven't you?
Yeah. Huck Finn.
Huck fan.
Yeah.
Bill's bad. Well, that wasn't too many. It didn't seem like. Of course, we went through a couple of those fast because we don't know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it took us 15 minutes to get through the first one. Those two guys having a smoke at the Moose.
Yeah, I was just shocked. Everybody smoked back then.
Yeah.
My dad was a cigar smoker, David.
Everyone had at churches and
Oh yeah.
banquet hall, you had ashtrays everywhere.
My dad was a cheap cigar smoker.
Well, that's all Gus had was cheap cigars.
El Producto, White
Oh,
Owl.
that was a Cadillac.
They weren't the full, they were fillers. They weren't the
Yeah.
full stem.
Right. Short filler.
So you'd wind up spitting about every fourth puff, you'd spit out a bunch of seeds and stuff,
Yeah.
stems.
I
That's a
smoked a
leaf.
cigar.
Now yours are the real thing, aren't they?
Mhm.
It's a leaf rolled up.
El Macos were a real thing.
Yeah, midnight. You're smoking at midnight, it looks like.
I've moved on.
Well, you're Romeo and Juliet now. What are you on now?
I don't know. I threw it away.
You mean you threw away what you're on now? It's in your left hand.
No, the label. I think it might be a La Gloria Cubana.
That's what I guessed the first one was, the Gloria Cubana.
Oh, you guess? Oh, did you?
Yeah.
First one
You
was
ever say that?
Yeah, yeah.
first
Oh,
one
yeah.
was a Romeo.
I'm just like, I'm like the president. You better say yes.
You better say yes.
What do you think of my leadership?
Well,
Anything else, David?
no, it's nothing that won't get me into trouble.
Well,
So,
let's get in trouble.
Yeah, we could get in trouble.
Let's get the readership up.
Yeah.
mhm.
But
Well,
there's people out there that would like to talk about different things.
Yeah, we ought to get right down into the stuff
Get
America's
in the
talking
dirt.
about.
Just
Yeah.
get in the dirt.
Yeah.
well, you guys better be careful. I could replace you now that DEI is
David,
done away
David,
with.
now there's a DEI directive. Does that mean Bill's off the air?
It's
We got Bill in on a couple of exemption programs there.
mhm.
We got the mentally ill exemption.
Yeah.
This,
Yeah, well, we got you in on the LGBTQ side.
good.
So
I'm proud of it.
that's probably offensive to somebody. I apologize if they're offended.
Well, I'm not offended.
Just we're not making fun of DEI.
So this is a true story, David. When you get older, you're going to find this out. You get in your 70s. Sometimes your bodily signals are slow.
Yeah, tell me about it. Not just in your 70s.
So you're at a restaurant. Let's say I'm at Freddy's in Mattoon. And all of a sudden I realize I've been tricked by my bodily signals.
Oh no.
And I go to the men's restroom, is locked.
Oh.
So I go over and knock on the door of the women's. If nobody's there, I go in.
Mhm.
And up until recently, if anybody ever complained, I was going to say, I'm sorry, I just felt like a woman there for a moment.
Yeah.
I can't do that anymore, can I?
No.
No, not now.
So I can't use the women's restroom anymore.
I've done that.
One of the things that irritates me to no end is how this not sure how you say it, but there's so many people that if they are in a position of power, position of authority, maybe have a high salary, it's a high functioning position. If they happen to be a woman, or they happen to be black, or they happen to be gay, there are certain people who automatically dismiss that as a DEI hire. Oh, they're DEI. Like they're not actually qualified. Well, how do you know if they're not actually qualified? They may be the most qualified.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the point now, if you are and I have felt on both sides, white privilege at times when I felt like, if I hadn't been a white man, I wouldn't have gotten what I did. There's other times that like, if you're trying to find a job and you're a white man and you're of a certain age, it's harder to get a job. You feel like, well, if I had, a qualifier like DEI, I would have a better chance. So I understand kind of both sides of it, but just because someone happens to be different from you doesn't necessarily mean they're not qualified for the job.
True.
Yeah. So you get rid of the policies. What do you do with the people? I mean, will they go to the next step and try and purge the payroll? I don't think they'll be able to do it constitutionally. There's so many constitutional challenges out there. It just boggles the mind. They call it, one of his advisors said, let's flood the zone with so much stuff they can't keep track of. Somebody else described it as a whack a hornet's nest technique, where you hack the hornet's nest and you haven't got time to really talk about anything because you got 1,000 hornets stinging you. I think over time it'll sort itself out through the court system.
Well, when you think about DEI and some of those policies and why they came about, I'm sure you're both well aware that there has always been a huge, extensive old boys network where
Bill was the president of it for years.
Well, but
no question about it.
There was a time in recent memory, if you were black or you're a woman or you're gay or you're something or Mexican or something else, you didn't have a chance. of
I
getting.
think and I agree with you. I agree 100% that it ought to be inclusive. Uh, your race, gender, none of that should be a criteria.
Mhm.
And I think the objection to Biden's DEI policy was like building out these in his program to expand our computer chip down in Texas with Intel stuff. The actual grant from the Department of Commerce said you had to have 12% this, you had to have 1% Native American, you had to. So it's picking out percentages, you know,
Yeah,
and
and it's a flawed. It's very
they
flawed.
they shouldn't mandate percentages. That's what I think offends a lot of people. But yes, it should be open to everybody.
You know what really offended me the other day?
What was
I
that?
really got kind of disgusted with it when they were doing the raids on immigration
Mhm.
down in Phoenix. They decided that they'd pick up the Navajo Indians, and I'm thinking of the Navajo code talkers in World War II.
Yeah.
One of who just recently passed away, and I'm thinking,
Why were they?
do you have no idea?
Why were they picking them up?
Because they look different.
Well, and the military has suspended a class on history that included talking about the code talkers and
No, see, that's the problem. They don't know how to implement this executive order. See,
right.
what Biden did, Biden came in, issued about 3 or 4 executive orders mandating DEI, and he said, you will adopt policies that are inclusive, that strive for equal outcomes, equity, not equal opportunity, outcomes. So equal outcomes means 12% of the hires are women, 13% are minorities, 14. So he wanted equal outcomes, not based on merit. But so the Department of all the agencies were ordered by their leader, President Biden, to do this. So the Department of Defense did. As I listened to the campaign last year, people like Pete Hegseth and candidates were yelling about how the damn military went woke on them. They got cleaned out. Well, the military did not go woke. The military was ordered by President Biden to adopt DEI standards.
Right.
All President Trump has to do is come in and say, I'm now going to reverse those DEI orders. You don't have to purge the military of these bad people. There weren't bad people. There were the military people trying to adopt the presidential things. So you're going to have the same problem with Trump's, all of these flurry of executive orders. You have people falling over trying to figure out what do they mean. That's why OMB sent out this thing freezing the whole thing. Nobody knows what it means. What? And normally it takes. Here's the deal: it takes a long time to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One of the problems I'm having with President Trump right now is he's impatient. When they went to pardon the January 6th rioters, he promised, and it was order went out to vet them for let's pardon those that did nonviolent minor property things. That takes a long time.
Right.
But the inside word from the media, and maybe it's a fake news, but I don't think it is. The inside media thing from his things was it was taking too long. He said blanket, pardon them all. He couldn't wait for 30 days. He wanted to do it right now, get the splash now while the iron was hot. So this impatience, he claimed on TV the other day that we can put up a new factory somewhere out where in 5 days. Yeah. Whatever happened to environmental review, zoning laws, inspectors, making sure you got the infrastructure, making sure you own the land. The title policy takes 30 days. So this thing about immediacy and not thinking about it, not studying it, just having it off the top of your head, I want it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. I'm impatient. I think that's dangerous.
Well, back to the DEI stuff is not really new. It's maybe it has a new name, but it's been decades ago where, if you were a woman, a female-owned company, or you were a Native American-owned company, you would get preference in contracts, and I think it's the American way to try to find loopholes. So you'd end up with a Native American-owned company who would bid on a job and get it, and then just turn around and hire someone to do the actual work. And if you were a construction company, you put it in your wife's name. Now you're a woman-owned
Well, that
company.
was back in the 70s.
John Hupper.
Back in the 70s, they put minority contracting. And I can tell you as a lawyer in Tuscola during the 70s and 80s, I had a lot of mom and pop corporations incorporate and give 51% to their wife, just like you say.
Yep.
And then be qualified as a minority contractor. I also know that's how Chief AJ got a subcontract for when they renovated Memorial Stadium, because he had a Native American firm. And I'll also tell you that you're exactly right. They award 20% or a certain percent to minority or disadvantaged, and they turn around and then they basically broker it and sub it to somebody else and take a piece of the action.
Mhm.
So there's always a workaround. There
Right.
isn't. You can't come up with a federal law.
I think that's the American way, isn't it?
The genius of the American way is to do a workaround.
Yeah.
You can central plan all day long like they do in Russia, and they'll make you look like a fool down at the bottom. That's one of the geniuses of capitalism, is that it's bottom driven. In other words, if you put 5 restaurants in a town, the people in the town will let you know which one's got bad food, because it'll go bankrupt.
Yeah.
The good one will live. So
By the way,
you can't top down determine what the good restaurant is.
I read your column in the News Gazette on I don't even know what it was about.
Civics. It was civics.
Civics proficiency deficiency.
And two things. One is it is currently mandated to teach civics in Illinois in high school and junior high. I was on the governor's task force for civic education that led to that law. But the other thing I wanted to comment is you had a mistake when you asked who's buried in Grant's tomb.
Lex Luthor was the correct answer.
Nobody is buried in Grant's tomb. Tombs are not buried.
Is he doing a pun thing on me?
Meghan Markle.
It's
That's the one I like.
It's
Meghan
above,
I busted out laughing.
tombs are above ground.
Yeah.
David, recently the St. Joe High School
Oh, they went to
civics team went
Yeah.
to the Nationals.
Yeah. No, I know it's mandated, but Dave, when we were in grade school, it's a true story. You didn't leave the 8th grade if you didn't pass the Constitution
Right.
test. They don't have that anymore. And also, I did mention that in those places where they do still teach, like Illinois,
Right.
65% of all teachers said they soft pedaled everything because everything's so controversial.
I thought they still had to do the Constitution.
They're afraid to really get
Of
into
course, I've
stuff.
been retired almost 20 years.
If
So
they get into critical race theory, the right wing yells at them. If they get into how great our founding fathers was, the left wing yells at them.
yeah,
You can't say anything anymore in civics.
Well, there's and I'm
totally incorrect.
I'm just kind of bitching now. You know,
Yeah, you're finding
Yeah.
you're finding my errors and bitching about my column. What, did you like anything about it?
the schools. I wasn't bitching about that. The schools are so
You did like
got
anything.
so much they have to do, and they've got so little time to do it in.
Oh.
You know, when civics became mandated, I reached out to a couple local schools to say, "Hey, I'd love to come out to your class and talk about civics and news literacy, and which is part of that civics, and explain." You know, I wrote this primer on news literacy. I was on the governor's task force for civic education. I'm well versed in what they're teaching.
Right.
Nobody has taken me up on it.
I know.
You got
Nobody's
someone
ever asked-
right here in your community who was
Isn't that amazing?
involved in creating that law.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I was
Don't
telling
have
Beck,
time for that.
I was telling Beck the other day, I'll be sitting with a group of people and they'll bring up something like, you know, how you do this or that. How does the city issue a bond for this? What does the bond mean? I'm sitting there listening to them talk. I'm saying, I've done that 100 times in my legal career. Did anybody think to look over to a guy who's an expert in that?
Yeah.
They just don't do it.
Right.
They just welcome to crowd. No, I think that my point is this. We're deficient in everything. As you know, our reading scores are down, our math scores are down. So civics proficiency is down there with the rest of it. My theory is I'm just alarmed that people don't know basic civics. I don't think they understand checks and balances. I was listening yesterday on the radio to Larry Kudlow, who I like. He was on Fox Business. He's a pretty moderate guy. He's not a real right-wing nut. And he was talking about this judge that put a temporary restraining order on Trump's screwed up freezing everything. These are past laws that were passed. A law was passed by Biden, signed into law. President Trump has a duty to faithfully execute that law. He was freezing it and going to take stuff out. Maybe he has right, maybe not. The judge did a temporary restraining order to make sure that he didn't violate the separation of powers and usurp Congress's power to pass law. And Larry Kudlow had a guest on, and Larry Kudlow said, who the hell does that judge think she is? She wasn't elected to do anything. The people are giving a mandate to him to change everything. Who the hell does she think she is to stand in the way? And the other woman says, yes, we carried every state. And I'm going, what is going on? What do you mean, who the hell does that judge think she is? She's an equal branch of government whose duty is to make sure the president and Congress don't violate the Constitution.
Right.
If people don't understand these things, David, we're done.
Right.
We're done.
We're toast.
We're going to wind up with a monarchy or an autocracy of the billionaires running the country, and nobody's even going to know what happened.
Well, I guess the answer is you take some of our tax money going to public schools and you shift it over to these private schools where they can teach what they want, whether it's true or not.
You're getting off the subject. Do you agree or do not agree how important civics is that people understand?
No, this? I'm saying that, and no, I am agreeing with you, and really outlining how it's going to get worse, because that's the plan, is these vouchers that take money out of public schools, and the thing is, these private schools don't have to take anybody that they, if they don't want you, they don't have to take you. Public schools have to take everybody. And so you shift money away to these private schools that are teaching with an agenda, and sometimes, leaving out important parts of history, or maybe rewriting history, or, what are we going to end up, in 20 or 30 years?
I think when charter schools first started and religious schools, I don't think it was a bad idea at all, because if you wanted to homechild somebody, fine, you still paid your real estate taxes into the public school system. If you wanted to send your kid to a religious school or a private school, fine, you paid the tuition there, and then you still paid your tax into the public school system. What they're doing now, I think, is highly controversial. They're saying you don't have to pay your taxes into the public school system. We'll give you that money to go wherever you want. What they're slowly morphing into, worst case scenario, is they're going back to separate but unequal school systems before the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education.
And that's my point. I have no problem with private schools.
All the rich kids are going to be in the private schools, and all will be left are these poor, unequal, underfunded urban schools.
Right.
And going to the poor schools.
And that's my point. I don't have a problem with private schools and religious schools, if that's what you want to do. Don't use taxpayer money for it. Because
I think we're saying we're probably agreeing. I agree.
Right. Well, I think we are. And the other side of that is, okay, if you're a parent and you want your kid to go to private school and you're able to take your tax money and put it to that private school, well, you and I don't have kids in school. What do we get to do with our school money? We got to take your school money and send it to a private school for your kid, your public tax money.
David's talking about leaving the expert out of the conversation. We got a high school principal here. What do you think, Rift, where they're actually giving you back your real estate tax money to not go to Tuscola, to go to some religious school?
That's not good.
There we go. I went to public school. I believe in public schools. I believe in a common education. I mean, Brown versus Board of Education decision in '54 was a good decision, and people resist it, and they're still resisting it. They want their kids in their own school. They want to have the kids educated to what they believe, whether it's a religious doctrine, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think everybody's free to do that. But I still like the secular approach that we're all common, we're all in this together, we're all Americans, we all go to the school. If you want to pay extra money or get a scholarship to go to some private school, great.
That's fine.
You still contribute to the public education.
But now they want to do away with the accreditation process. for colleges and these private schools. There has to be some standards, whether
You
you're
would
a
think.
private school or a public school. There has to be some standards that you need to learn A, B, C, and D, or you don't graduate.
Isn't that what my article said?
Yes, it is.
Did-
Here's the
did-
problem.
Didn't I say you could just change the standards so everybody's a valedictorian? That's what everybody's happy.
Here's what we started doing. We didn't want anyone offended, so everyone got a trophy.
Everybody got a
And
badge.
it didn't even have to be within the school system. It came about in activities during the summertime. Everyone got a trophy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we've continued with that attitude over years, and here we are. So you want an A in your class? I'll give you an A. There you go.
No parents bitching.
No one was
Going to
griping.
put up with parents bitching. Going to have to put up with looking bad as a teacher.
The state makes you look good to the state. Everybody got an A.
The state says you got to have 20% A's. The professor, the principal says you got 20% A's, 30% B's, no more than
Yeah.
1% D's. Nobody
Yeah.
flunks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's America has
I think I'm going to go back and protest.
America has had a long slide in academic excellence over the years. And the hungry nations, Avis tries harder. The hungry nations in Korea, China, India, they are trying harder and working harder to catch up with America, and they're just outperforming us. I think the Pew study of where we stand nationally, we're like 34th among nations for our academic excellence and high school proficiency. It's abysmal. And people blame, they blame public school teachers in Chicago. They blame the parents are spoiling their kids. They blame kids are lazy. They're on their phones. You can look all over society, but the point is, maybe it's just a case of rich nations get to the top and get fat and sloppy and lazy.
I will say that in respect to Tuscola over the years,
We're a little bit old fashioned.
we're a little bit old fashioned, but I will say that the expectations, not only in Tuscola, but perhaps Douglas County, expectations were high. And kids, we expressed to the kids that we have these expectations for you to do well academically, socially, and be a part of the culture that has excelled. We've had a lot of kids with a lot of successes.
Well, I think you can.
I don't know that there's a universal cause because, education aside, there are a lot of young people that I have interacted with in recent years. Some of them have very good work ethic, and some of them have no work ethic.
Well, to talk about this meta phenomenon, you have to overgeneralize. And we're not saying there's not brilliant kids. We're not saying some kids off the chart. We're just talking about statistically. If you have a 30% proficiency at the 8th grade in math or reading, that's not good, especially if in India it's 50, in China it's 63, and in South Korea it's 67. So to solve it, Dave, you have to think about what the causes are. As complicated as it is, if you're going to come up with a solution, you have to say, well, what do we do? I know Doug Carnine, my classmate, is the one who came up with direct instruction that kind of led to Leave No Child Behind. And direct instruction's whole thing was to come up with a method where we could actually measure if a school system is doing well versus another school system. Before direct instructions and these standardized quantification tests came up, Georgia, I think, for example, bragged back in the 70s they had the best schools in the nation. They then compared Georgia to everybody else on these studies. Hell, Georgia's at the bottom. You had no scientific way to measure educational achievement. Now, I know that changes teaching. I know there's a bitch about teaching to the test, and I know it's takes away from the dynamics of education. But Bill, there has to be some way to be able to measure if you're doing a good job or not, don't you think? School to school.
I agree.
Are these standardized tests that can measure?
And I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill. I had a comment, but you've got a question.
Well, I was going to go with the professor who's over here on my left.
She knows more than both Bill and I
She
combined.
knows, she knows more about this at a higher level of education. But I know exactly what you're saying, and I understand it. Like I said, I try to put a positive spin on our schools and try to.
I think Tuscola's largely an old-fashioned school that really tries.
And the expectations are
Right.
there to do as well as we possibly can. Hey, before we close this show today, and I have to say something, you're talking about kids coming out of Tuscola schools educated, but and we talked last week about big families, I think, and
Oh, yeah.
everything. Kalmar family picture.
Oh, boy.
And
Brilliant.
70 years of marriage, Mary Kay,
Rudy.
and Rudy, that's tremendous. Good for them. Congratulations. And
All the kids were
all the kids.
right. I don't
Yeah.
know. They're probably, most of them are valedictorians, I think. They got dentist, doctor, they got all kinds of
Yeah.
people. Hey, Becky, while we got you here, you're on the side, education-wise, with our, we're so low in proficiency, according to Pew studies versus other nations. Are those studies accurate, you think? And they reflect something about our culture, whatever it is?
If they're published, they
They-
have to go through a process of,
Peer reviewed.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Pew studies are highly
Yeah, I mean-
scientific. Now, we have a bunch of people don't believe in science anymore,
I know.
which is part of the problem with our excellence.
But the other thing is, the difference between learning and teaching to the test, you know? And that's what happened.
Mhm.
No child left behind. They started teaching to the test.
But
Practice test came to Tuscola, and
Yeah.
I told Mr. Voiles, we're spending money on these practice tests. I
Right.
said, we don't need to
Right.
spend the money on them.
So children, I don't think got the kind of education, the
That we used to get.
well-rounded education that we got. Yeah,
I think
Well,
that
we had a lot of anxiety in the
Oh.
kids,
There was anxiety
But-
in the teachers.
yeah,
They had anxiety,
right.
and then they laid it on
But-
the building principal, and he had
But,
anxiety.
but isn't all this, isn't all this anxiety kind of what led to grade creep, where you got 30% of your students from National Honor Society, you got 7 or 8 valedictorians. We've talked about people that go to college with all A's. I called the dean of a college and he says, Mike, they've all got all A's nowadays. What isn't that a result of not wanting all the anxiety and
Big,
worry?
big.
Just give everybody an A. Nobody worries.
Right.
And yet our proficiency levels are at 30%. So there is
So where's where's the problem between what we're teaching and what we're testing then?
right. And David says he knows the answer and he'll reveal it next week.
Oh, great.
I wish they'd given me an.
well, I was gonna say, and Becky can agree or disagree. I think that one common denominator when you talk about these great families and high achieving kids and so forth, I think one thing that they all have in common, this is my theory, is they have parents who know how to say no to their kids.
And support them
Well, I think
in
they
their
have,
education.
I think if you look at the Kalmars, I've just stopped my head.
Yeah, I would guess that.
One is genes. Rudy's an engineer. They're very, very
Right,
smart
right,
people.
genetic, sure.
And number 2, they really prioritize education and expect their kids to excel. I bet you
Expectations.
$1 million they expect their kids to excel.
Mhm.
So their expectations put on those kids. And
Yeah.
and yes, kids may feel some pressure, and yes, they may feel bad if they fail. But I think that's shame and guilt is good. It drives you to higher levels.
When
You know,
we were-
my son was not good in math, so we practiced math in the summertime. You know, I would make out math sheets for him to work on. I would make him do math in the summertime, and he hated it. And I didn't care that he hated it. He was going to get better at math. And at night, he'd want to listen to this rap music and hard. And I said, no, you can listen to James Taylor. You can listen to something soft and soothing. You're going to sleep. So I gave him an acceptable playlist that you're trying to get to sleep, you need to calm down, you need to relax. And, you know, parents have a say so in those things and they need to exercise it.
I think when we were growing up, our parents expected us to go to college. That's not the case today, and that's okay. Not everybody needs to go to college, but that doesn't mean they don't need to have a good education.
Mhm.
Expectations to
Especially,
do well.
especially in US history and civics.
Right, there you go. Good argument.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it, David.
All right. I think we've solved some of the world's problems today.
Oh, I know we did.
Well, if we get some angry calls, maybe we'll be able to be influencers and sell advertising bigger. Who's our advertiser today?
Maybe we'll
Dave?
get canceled.
Well, being canceled is fine. If you don't stand for anything, you'll follow anything.
You'll fall for anything.
So, yeah. Well, thanks for injecting a little bit of juice here. So,
Our sponsor this week is Elite Builders.
thank you, Mr. Elite Builder, if that's your real name.
Yeah. All right. See you next week on Remembering Tuscola.
Bye-bye.
Right.